Hello everyone, my name is Bitharne and I welcome you back to Civilization. This is going to be our series on Civilization 6. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and let's get to it. So we're going to go single player here. We're going to create a game. I'm going to go ahead, I'm not going to go through all the leaders and stuff. The rules in this game get really complicated, so just compared to the older ones. But I think honestly Trajan from Rome is one of the most powerful leaders, and nice and simple, and he's got some good fun bonuses. A lot of other people you have to kind of make work. I'm going to play on Immortal. I should probably do Deity, but it's been a long time since I've even played any Civs, honestly, so we'll leave it on continents, and we're going to go standard map size. I'm not even going to bother with advanced setup, and we're just going to dive right in.
From the first stirrings of life beneath water, to the great beasts of the Stone Age, to man taking his first upright steps, you have come far. Now begins your greatest quest. From this early cradle of civilization on towards the stars. Cast your net wide, O Trajan, Emperor of mighty Rome. Your legions stand at the ready to march out and establish the largest empire the world has ever seen. If you can truly get all roads to lead to Rome, yours will be an empire of great riches and luxuries. Surely then our citizens will proclaim you as their best ruler, the Optimus Princeps.
Alright, there's our new narrator for Civ 6. It's going to be good old Sean Bean. It's good, but let's go over some of the bonuses while we're on the screen here. Whenever you build a new city, you start with an extra building. Usually, especially in the early game, you get the monument building, which is great. So you don't have to bother spending the time building it, and your culture grows, and you get more tiles to work. It's great all around. You also get a free trading post and roads if you can trade with the capital, if you're in range to at least. And then anytime a trade route goes through, whenever a trade route goes through a trade depot on the way to one of your cities, you get an extra gold. And then your unique unit, of course, is the Legion, just like the Legionnaire usually. Replaces the Swordsman, and then the Bath is the unique districts. It's probably one of the most powerful unique districts in the game. I think it's like really cheap, and just it's way better than the Aqueduct you normally have. So let's dive right in here and see what we have to work with. Alright, so we have a lot of resources. It looks like that might be water next to us. Let's go. No, it's another river. So it looks like we got a lot of good land here. So we got 1, 2, 3. So we can't quite reach that stone, but we can reach every other resource on our screen. So we're just going to found our city right here. So that gives us an absolute ton of resources to work with. Let's turn the grid off. Y will toggle your yields. G toggles your grid. We have a lot of good starting resources here, which is great. So we'll want to just start off with a scout to explore more quickly and see what kind of terrain we have to work with. And then looks like in our city radius first we have horses, which will yield an extra production if we throw a pasture on it. So we got a lot of extra production, and we got a lot of basic food, which is great. So like all these tiles are 2 food. The horses also give us +1 food, and then the pasture will give us another +1 production. Looks like we've got a floodplain up here in range as well for some even more food. I got a little bit of faith from dyes here, and I believe the plantation will also give us gold. And we got a lot of production up here from these deer in the woods. And then that banana spot's going to be really good for early game as well, even before we can even work on it. So I'm thinking here, we don't have wheat or rice. I don't generally build the granary very early. Usually have more important things to build. We might want to chop these down at some point for the resources, but that'll use up one of our worker charges. I'm thinking we'll just grab our animal husbandry for the pasture early, so we can perhaps. So the one problem is that it's going to be a little while before I build a worker before we can build any improvements. So the things we're going to want in our city is going to be more important to us early game, but we're going to have a lot of production anyway for like settlers and stuff. This is actually one of the hardest civs for your starting pick, in my opinion. We might want to go for mining here as well, just so we can get quickly, because we actually need, wait, there's a change here on allows harvesting of stone. Oh, right, yeah, to actually delete the stone. All right, never mind then. So if we do these, we'll get extra production. We get those, we'll get extra production. Let's go ahead and just grab animal husbandry since we'll need it for the pastures anyway. And then we got some rice over here. So a good second city will be over here somewhere. Maybe one up here and then one down here. I'd like to not overlap my cities at all if possible. But one nice thing about coming to Civ 6 from Civ 5.
Into the heart of New Zealand's fjordland, that same childlike feeling, long lost, that pure, unadulterated awe came rushing back. I knew the road to Milford Sound was good, but this good?
It's one of our natural wonders, which is great. That'll give us a boost on astrology. And we'll get that hut next turn, and this gives us a whole bunch of cattle, it looks like, just right next to it. Plus the production, so we'll probably want our second city over right up in here as quickly as possible. And as I was saying before Sean Bean interrupted me, Civ 6 is back sort of to city spamming, but I think they've finally struck a pretty good balance between spamming more cities and not, because Civ 5 was really prohibitive, whereas Civ 4 you just built every city you could possibly build. I would frame out like a 20 or 30 city empire as quickly as I could before I even built military units or anything sometimes. It was so ridiculous. But in this one, you're not punished for founding cities like you were in 5, but you also kind of don't do nothing but build cities like you did in 4. So we're going to have 2 explorers, so that should help us hopefully on getting some goodie huts here. The more of the land you can explore before the AI, the more goodie huts you get. You also get envoys. At least we should have some. So we got some, this is the new civic policy system, which I really enjoy. They've actually split up research and civics into 2 different tech trees, and you research them independently. And then your government, which is the screen we're in, has these policies you can apply instead of those trees in Civ 5. And you get these little cards that you can throw in here. I usually start with this for the extra production boost. God King's also really good. Actually, I might do God King. Let's do God King for the extra faith so we can get the early Pantheon. And the gold is also kind of nice. But I also usually get this early double recon. And then our next... Are you sure you want to close? No. Confirm policies first. Yes. Alright. Whenever you get new policies, you can freely replace them with the new ones that you got, or you can even use old ones as well. You just get a free turn, and then any turn you want to change your policies, you get the anarchy if you didn't research new ones that turn. So it lets you periodically change your government without punishing you too hard. So you usually get foreign trade first, because here's the civics tree, it's like the tech tree. You always have code of laws first, and then you can choose these 2 different paths. I will usually go foreign trade first, because you usually get the second continent bonus pretty early. And this gives you all kinds of good stuff. Alternatively, you could go up here and get for like these cards specifically if you're going to build a lot of builders. But craftsmanship usually isn't used early enough in the game to warrant getting it immediately. The other thing also is that settlers don't actually eat your food this time. So you can kind of build them more freely. I think I am going to just go straight to another settler and get my next city here, because we got, what, 1, 2, 3. So if we found our city right here, we can get all of these tiles, and with the harbor districts now, you can get a coastal city without being on the coast. So we're gonna get a settler and throw them down right here as quickly as we can. Hopefully, we'll be able to get all these tiles up before the city-state expands and takes our cattle there, and that's even more incentive for our animal husbandry. Right. We also, like I said, when you first, instead of getting a small gold bonus early game, whenever envoys is the new system for city-states here. When you're the first person to discover them, you get a free envoy. Your first envoy with any city-states gives you a bonus to your capital. And then on 3 it gives you a bonus to your district related to whatever the city state is. You got military, you got commercial, you got the culture one, you got the faith one, the science one, and they're all related. And then once you get out here, I think it boosts extra production and camp rent when you're producing units, and then extra in your hubs. Usually it'll usually always affect your districts, but the first one will boost your capital. So the very first he wants a great writer for his quest. The very first envoy you send there gives you some kind of meaningful bonus. You also, once you're suzerain of them, which means you're the most influential and they like you, they give you bonuses of different kinds. It's been a while. Your city state, they'll join you in war and peace. I think they give you units every once in a while, or maybe that's military only. And you can see 3 tiles around them. You can pay gold to levy their troops, and you can gain ownership of their resources. So it's a lot better of a system than it used to be, I feel, from Civ 5. Basically, this is Civ 5 learning from all of their mistakes. So this is a much, much better game overall. I loved Civ 5. It was one of my favorite iterations of the series. Especially just the combat alone for the hex grid is what made it for me.
It's not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves.
But Civ 6 learned from all of those mistakes and like all the flaws that Civ 5 had.
Nos somos Felipe, rey de España y Portugal, empero por encima de todo.
Very nice. And then every time you meet, you can be nice to them and invite them to join you or whatever, or you can just be a jerk. I'm usually just nice to them to start. They're already going to be mean to me anyhow, since we're playing on Immortal anyway, so
if there are no
the
gods
AI
in
is not going to
heaven,
be happy with me.
then when I die, I want to go where they went.
Right, so we got some more resources on the other side of this guy. We got a lot of mountains here. Mountains are rather important in this edition of the game with the districts. So the districts basically enhance your city by using up a whole tile as kind of like a builder upgrade, but you build it in the city, and they are effective based on their surrounding terrain essentially. So let's see, we're not going to go religion focused. We just want our early pantheon for the bonus. I usually get the growth bonus, either the city growth bonus or the territory growth bonus, depending on what I have at the moment that I prefer. We're gonna mining because I want to get early copper, so I can see where the iron is. Because you always are going to want some good iron. I think we need iron for our legionnaires anyhow. But essentially, if this is a really good spot up here for a campus. I mean, it's not the greatest. I've seen better, but I think what Mount Everest is faith. So maybe I'd want a little bit of faith production up here. Actually, up here would be great for holy site in that case, because the mountains give both holy site bonuses and campus bonuses for science. So if you build them next to, down here would be great for campus and research actually, since I can build a campus right here and it's got a full, every tile around it gives us, I think jungles only give half, whereas a mountain gives us single science. So if we fully encompass this, it'll be +3. So it's actually better to build it near mountains. And you also need to build a campus near mountains in order to build an observatory for extra science boost. So like maybe down here. It's usually hard to get more than 3 mountains. If you find a spot that actually is a complete ring, then you're in a really good position for building a nice scientific city of some sort. But most of the time you're just going to have to power through like a +2 or maybe a good +3 campus by throwing it down in a little alcove. Like right here, my capital in Rome, I'll probably throw a campus right in here. I'll probably focus all of my districts in here around here because the districts stack with each other. They have adjacency bonus with any generic district, and some districts are a little better than others at adjacency bonus with each other. Like specifically on the coast, you'll want a commercial district and a harbor adjacent to each other. So whenever you have a kind of a coastal city, like right here, when I build this city, we'll want a harbor like out in here, And I think we'll build our commercial district here, and our harbor, I believe, is built right in the water. If it's built on the coast, I forget which. It's been a while. We can use these 2 tiles right there, or this one and that one, since our city will be there. Right, so let's get out of this forest or jungle here and see what's on the other side. Tons of dyes. I should have been actually pulling my warrior back. I'll use my scout to protect our settler though, but it's very dangerous to send your settler out unescorted. Let's see. So let's keep
Signet is a 250 square mile tiger trap made up on massive obelisks riddled with jagged spears. And yes, they will cut your pretty face.
Okay. A lot of natural wonders. Natural wonders are really well done this time around. They usually buff the terrain around them. Looks like this is culture and science all around it. So that'd be great for this. And this one down here gives us a ton of culture, so this would be a great culture city. I hope my city doesn't eat that culture away. That would kind of suck. If it, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, that would kind of be lame, but we'll see. It's been because each civ has a different rule when it comes to founding cities on tiles. Sometimes you get the tile bonus, a lot of times you don't. I think it was most of the old ones. I think like Alpha Centauri specifically, you got all the tile yields that you settled on, but maybe I'm wrong. Alright, our mining will be done next turn. We'll probably grab...
When you find yourself in a hole, quit digging.
A lot of Will Rogers quotes, apparently. Another big mechanic for Civ 6 here is I did turn the advisor off. They'll probably tell you is that barbarians don't just come and randomly attack you. They actually scout you out first with this guy. Once the scout sees you, he'll run back to his village and tell them, and then they'll spawn a whole bunch of dudes to come attack you. So you really want to cut off their scouts early and stop them from reporting your presence unless you want to fight a bunch of barbarians. I'm going to get the wheel, I believe. I didn't get it early in my test game. I get mining in the wheel. The wheel I really like because the watermill is one of my favorite structures in the game. Production of food. I usually end up building that over a granary. Although the granary does have the housing now, so it gives it a good reason to be built. But I'm going to grab pottery for now. We'll probably focus on science pretty early because we are playing on Immortal, so we're going to be behind for almost the entire game. We need to be a little bit proactive about trying to get a hold of whatever we can to secure ourselves. Generally, we're going to be using choke points in our military might in order to stop them from overrunning us with what they'll have like 2 or 3 times as many units as us most of the time. As long as we can, if we have to go to war, hopefully we don't have to, but it will just depend on who's around us and what's going on. Right, so we got our settler done. We have a lot of city-states around us, and we did meet another civ, Spain's down here. So let's go kind of see what his terrain looks like. So that forest is going to, or that jungle there is going to slow him down if he tries to expand towards us, which will be good. We're not going to do that again. I'm going to go for some more early military so that we don't have to worry about barbarians. Especially on Immortal, barbarians are a little tougher. And I don't think you get barbarian fighting bonuses like in some of the lower difficulties, so the barbarians will be harder when we do have to fight them. Alright, so let's grab this. We got a Eureka on bronze working, which is pretty awesome. You don't get free techs anymore, basically, with the new system of research, but I really love this new Eureka system. It cuts down your research basically by half, so if I found a city on the coast, it'll boost my sailing and research half of it for me. If you kill someone with a slinger, you'll boost your archery by half, etc. So if you build a quarry, your masonry will be cut down. And then, of course, mine a resource, which you didn't do. We must have got this from a... Are we researching it right now? No. We must have got that from someone. Alright, so it's telling me to build cities in decent spots, but our plan is to grab as much land as we can. Since we're Roman, we start with a monument. Alright, I don't think Spain's going to bother trying to attack us early, because that would suck if they did. So we're kind of in a race to beat Zanzibar to this cattle, and namely these dyes, but also the cattle.
Aspect of trade, I suppose. The world gets stirred up together.
Cool, cool. All right, so now you get this. You can actually trade these policies out. I'm not going to trade either of these policies for now. If anything, I would go back to the extra production per city. Once I get another city or two down, that's what I will do. I will go back to that, since I'd rather have +1 production in 2 or 3 cities than the +1 gold and faith. We also are going to want our Pantheon as soon as it'll let us get one. I don't remember what the point cost is for the first Pantheon. So after I have foreign trade here, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to flat out say, go to political philosophy, because I want a better government that gives you more civic cards that you can place into your deck there. Actually, I should. Is he still good for the promotion? The other thing promotions do in this one is they use up your turn. So you can use you can move if you have 2 movement points, for instance. You can move once and then use your promotion. But promoting now is like attacking; it just ends your turn. So they took out that exploit of being able to promote and then attack again and with full health after you've promoted. I also believe it does not actually fully heal you any longer. It only does like half, and turn those yields off. Don't leave them on. This starting city is going to be a little slow. But the surrounding terrain's pretty good, and again our growth is through the roof, so it should be fine. If you see that when you have the guy selected, it shows you the those colors. It actually depends. You get extra housing, I believe it is, for your growth rate, depending on where you settle. If you settle on fresh water, you get the most. If you settle on the ocean, you get the middle, and if you settle on none of those, you get the least amount of extra amenities. Housing, I believe. Okay, so here's where that scout lives. So if he had scouted us and ran back home, he would have told them about our position and sent out some dudes. So you can't settle in the red, too close to something. There's no water here, gives you nothing. The coastal water gives you a +1 amenity. Housing, I keep saying amenities. Housing, and then the fresh water gives you +3 housing. So our city will grow slower in the short term, but we also have bathhouses, which are one of the best things for growth. And I don't actually usually build a whole lot of growth buildings, so it might encourage me to actually build those. So we're going to go ahead and grab the wheel next, I believe. Well, I want to see where the iron is, but we don't really need the extra military at the moment. And I'm probably going to want to throw a water mill down in our capital to get us a little bit of production and food. We'll also come down here. Where's the water mill? Will be okay down here. If we'll probably build our 3rd city in this area. We got what, 1, 2, 3. So we can use those 1 bananas and use those. So 1, 2, 3. So we'll build our next city down in here, probably like right there, and then we'll probably build another city over here. So those 2 might overlap, but if they overlap over nothing, then it'll be fine. Huge gold deposit, and we might build a city over here. 1, 2, 3, like right on this hill, will give us access to 1, 2, 3. Will give us access to most of the fish. I don't know, I actually think you can get all 4 of those fish in one go, but here will give us 3 fish, 2 stone, and some of production from that. Alright, so our capital here. I don't think these guys are requesting any traders. That's usually why I'll build an early trader, since my cities actually link themselves together with Rome. I think we're just going to grab a builder here so we can enhance our capital's production. And then after the builder is constructed, we'll build the water mill to give us some extra food and production growth. Alright, and I'm going to use this guy to help cut off the scout in case he counts as scouting me, because I don't want him to come back with a bunch of friends. And here, this is fully blocked off. This might not be. I didn't explore that fully, so I'm not sure how that terrain looks. So there might be a mountain there, there might not be. I don't think there's any AI civs up there. Could be, but I think we're actually at the top of the map right there. Looks like that. Alright, so now I'm gonna stay up here. And we're gonna take pot shots at this guy. Want them, because they don't heal while you can take some time out of your day to heal. Alright, so we're gonna head and found our city here. It's not gonna be the greatest city to start. Let's see how much. So I'm worried about his growth, so I'm going to just flat out buy these tiles. Right, since I did take the extra pains to settle the city in a non-ideal position. I want to make sure I get the tiles that I was trying to get, and we'll go ahead and go straight into a builder. So it's 15 turns to grow. One of the reasons for this is your housing capacity. The closer you are to your cap, the lower your growth rate, essentially. The more, gosh, I keep forgetting that's actually part of the interface now. So this is halfway through the cap also, but it's a higher cap. But when we were lower, when we were only at 1 of 6, we actually grew a little bit faster with the same amount of food. Turn that off. And let's try to uncover all this terrain. Okay, so I think are we first here again? No, we were not first here. It was probably Spain. That's 4 gold in the capital. You get a lot of early gold in this if you get a good city state, so that's really nice to accomplish. And I'm gonna range out these warriors that I'm gonna be building to make sure our land is more or less defended well. Because I don't like to deal with barbarians in this edition of the game. They're a huge hindrance. I think you can get a lot more experience than you used to, though, so you can actually use them for a little bit more experience farming than you could previously, but I could be wrong on that as well. Again, I only have like 50 hours in this as opposed to well over 500 hours in Civ 5 and probably over 1,000 hours in Civ 4. And probably double that in Civ 2, 3, and Alpha Centauri combined. Alright, so we can start chipping away at this guy's health. We want to take that village. I think we got our bonus for, what's it called? Kill 3 barbarians. We already got that, so we didn't actually need it this time. What we do want is to try to kill something with the slinger, but I haven't built one yet. We'll get one after our watermill here. Let's keep exploring, because I like to make sure I plan all my cities as quickly as I can. So we need more housing up here. Actually, what we should be doing is building that granary. But we might just buy it if we can. If nothing else, we could send over our builder once he's constructed. We'll improve 2 tiles here, maybe that one and that one, and then we'll chop down a forest for the granary so that we can get the granary built faster, so we get the higher housing, so we can take more advantage of the food that this city can produce. So go ahead and we'll just heal up here, and then we'll explore up in this direction. Once this guy takes out this village, he's going to come back and help defend the main areas. This is a very defensible position with all this terrain like this. Another huge change on how terrain works is you can no longer move onto a unit of terrain if you don't have enough movement, unless you have used 0 movement. So you can always move at least 1 tile, but if you have 2 movement, you can't. For instance, I can't move up here and then into the forest, or even across the river up here and then across the river, because it costs too many movement points. Or actually, I'm over here if that were me. Let's see if any of these are worth changing to. That'll boost the speed of our workers. The problem is that all of our faith is coming from God King. So I'm gonna keep it for now until I'm gonna heal this guy for a couple turns. So he's just gonna range right here. So normally this guy can move 3, but if you notice, if I move here, that did use 2 movement, but even if I moved there, I couldn't have moved up here from there, even though I had 1 movement left, because it requires 2 to get up on the hill. Why? Oh, I think because I think it's mining this one now. So I got a lot of gold and culture now. But his building's going to be slower, but that's fine. I can probably almost buy this guy with gold. I actually check. He's gonna kill me. This
Don't reinvent.
I'm hoping he can survive that. I'm gonna move here because if he moves there, I don't know if he can attack me or not. And if he does, I think he'll be flanked. So hopefully he doesn't kill me. That would suck. Let's go ahead and grab this pasture, and then we'll do my wood choppy thing that I said to kind of boost our little city over here. So even though you have a bunch of good food, because of the amenity, the housing system, it slows down your growth, which is, I think, a really good way that they did. They've come a long way since the health system, basically, of 4 and the universal happiness of 5. Let's see if we can purchase any of these things soon. Builders are 215, so it'll be a long time before I can build one. I'm at 1 gold a turn. Alright, so we got that one, and the next thing we want for sure is... we have animal husbandry for all that nonsense. We're going to want dyes for extra luxuries. But we're going to have housing problems here for a minute. That's something I've never really had to contend with in the past because I usually settle on rivers. So what can boost our housing is my question. How do harbors go? Harbors are money and science. So we could go for our bath district over here. That's a bit out though, 30 turns. It's not worth it at the moment. Is there a Eureka for that? Ancient walls for engineering. We already got that for meeting another civ. I'm thinking we'll go bronze working. What's it linked to? Iron working, which will give our Legionnaire. Oh, that's stone. We could get an early pyramids from that one city. Of course, our production's way too low because our growth is too low. Does any of this give us... fishing boats would probably be a good... We only have one that I can see, though. It's an interesting conundrum. Let's see, does this actually give... Yeah, pastures actually give us housing, so let's build it. Let's build some of those, and let's look for iron while we do that. The problem being... So I actually won't build on this stone. I'm going to bring this guy over here and build 2 pastures to boost our housing. And we'll go ahead and get this water mill constructed. Let's actually, the smarter move would be to grow our civ, honestly. Let's go ahead and grow the civilization first. What I'm thinking though is, it's actually, the water mill isn't as good right now because we can actually improve these tiles. So 1 builder will give us 3 improvements, so we can actually get 1, 2, 3 production out of 1 worker versus, or even 2 production and a food, which is better than the water mill's 1 production, 1 food. And since we don't have wheat or rice within our borders for Rome, the water mill isn't quite as effective up here. So we'll go ahead and we'll heal here. And we'll get this guy, we're going to come over here and get this pasture built. So we got a ton of stone in our radiuses here. Be good for production later game, once I expand my cities largely enough. I've never had to, you can't, so that's a lot of unused tiles, but it gives us all this extra culture, which is great. Right, so I think we're running a bit into it, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off here. We're going to get this settler built, and we're going to throw another city probably down here, since it's really defensible, and it expands it gets used most of these terrain, and then our next city will probably be pulled in a little bit and go here, be a little more science focused with all the jungles here. And then we have to explore up here to see, but we'll definitely throw a city up here, which will be more faith-focused with Mount Everest here. And then, of course, there's like 2 or 3 good city spots right here that we can take advantage of. And we'll plan all that out in the future, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.